Three cubes have edges of lengths 4, 5, and 6. The average of their volumes is. Well, if a cube has a side length of s, its volume is equal to s cubed. So they give you the edges of these three cubes. So the average of their volumes, well, the first volume would be 6 to the power 3, this guy. Then the next one would be 5 to the power 3 for that cube. And the last cube would be 4 to the power of 3, which is that cube. And then to find their average, you add them and divide by the number of cubes in this case, which is 3. So 6 to the power of 3 is 216. 5 to the power of 3 is 125. And 4 to the power of 3 is 64, all divided by 3. And that would be, if you do the math, 135. So number 5, the answer is E. The volume of a rectangular block is 120 if the area of its base is 24. What is its height? They tell you that the volume is 120. Now the volume, in terms of a formula, is length times width times height. And they tell you that is 120. So far we have this formula. Now they tell you also that the area of the base is 24. Well, the base is usually in a rectangular block, a rectangle, and the area of the base is length times width, and they tell you that's 24. So this LW is 24. So we have 120 equals 24 times h. And now we have to figure out the height, so it's just going to be 120 divided by 24. So h is equal to 5. So number 7, the answer is A. A large cylinder can hold 50 liters of chocolate milk when full. The tick marks show the division of the cylinder into 4 parts of equal volume. Which of the following is the best estimate for the volume of chocolate milk in the cylinder as shown? 50 is the full capacity divided into 4 equal parts, so this will be 12.5, 25, and 37.5. So it's right below 37.5. So which of these answer choices is right below 37.5? And this would be the best selection. Number 4 is therefore D. The floor of a rectangular prism has an area of 12. The side has an area of 6 and the top has an area of 8. The volume of the prism is. We'll label this height, we'll label this length, and we'll label this width. So if you look at the 12 is basically representing length times height, and that is 12. If you look at the 6 over here, that represents h times w, and that is 6. And if you look at the top guy, this is L, this is W. So that means L times W is 8. So we have 3 relationships, and you can proceed in several ways here, but what I'd do is really quick, is you just multiply everything. So this times this times this. And if you do, you get L squared, W squared, and 8 squared. And on that side, you'll get 8 times 6 times 12. Like that. And that number, you can just take the square root of. So if you take the square root now of both sides, this just becomes L times W times H. And then you take the square root of 8 times 6 times 12. And if you do, you get 24. And length times width times height represents the volume. That's how you figure out the volume of a prism. So number 10, the answer is 24, which is choice A. The base of a rectangular box measures 2 by 5. The volume of the box is 30. What is the height of the box? So you have a box that the base is 5 and 2, and we have a height, of course. The volume is given by length times width times height. In this case, it would be 5 times 2 times h. And the volume they've told you is 30. So this becomes 30 is equal to 5 times 2 times h, which is 10h. And dividing through by 10, h is equal to 3. So number 3, the answer is 3, and that's choice C. How many 1 by 1 by 1 blocks are needed to build the solid rectangular prism? Well, the volume of this big one is 4 times 3 times 3. And that is 12 times 3, which is 36. Now the volume of each of those 1 by 1 by 1 is going to be just 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1. So obviously 36 of these would be needed to make a volume of 36. So the answer to number 8 is E. A proposed new $5 coin is called the Foonie. The Foonie's two faces are identical and each has an area of 5 centimeters squared. The thickness of the Foonie is 0.5. How many Foonies are in a stack that has a volume of 50 centimeters cubed? Well, first we need to figure out the volume of one Foonie, and that's going to be the area times the thickness. And that is 2.5. So one of these coins is 2.5. So they're saying if you have a stack that is 50 centimeters cubed, how many of those coins are in that stack? Well, you'd have to divide by the individual volume. So 50 divided by 2.5 will give you the number of coins. And that will be 20. So there's 20 coins in that stack. Number 9, the answer is D. In the diagram, the cube has a volume of 8 centimeters cubed. What is the value of x? The value of any cube, if the side length is x to the power of 3. So they tell you that our volume is 8. So 8 is equal to x to the power of 3, and therefore x is equal to 2, cube root of 8. And therefore number 5, the answer is A. In the diagram, the rectangular solid and the cube have equal volumes. The length of each edge of the cube is. So volume of this cube is length times width times height, which is 2 times 4 times 8. And that is, of course, equal to 64. And then the cube, if the side, let's say, is x, the volume of a cube is x to the power of 3, right? And they tell you that the cube has the same volume as the rectangular solid. So the rectangular solid had a volume of 64. So the cube has a volume of 64. So therefore x to the power of 3 is 64. And therefore the cube root of 64 will be x, and that is equal to 4. So number 5, the answer is B. In the diagram, the volume of the rectangular prism is. Volume is length times width times height. And in this case, the length is 4, the width is 2, and the height is 8. So this becomes 8 times 8, which is 64 centimeters cubed. So number 3, the answer is C.